morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to Turtlecast. Jason and I want to riff on some things over here. He walked in, he said something. What did you say, World Bank?
Yeah, we could talk about centralized banking,
Yeah,
and the
centralized
fiat currency,
Oh,
and
great. Give me a
how Bitcoin is the most intelligent money system we've ever had. But we're not going to talk about that.
Until the
we will do a podcast on that.
We got to get those fees to drop a little bit.
I'm working on getting this guy that he wrote several articles and has been on a bunch of podcasts. I think we'll be able to get him. We've been reaching out to him on Twitter. But he wrote about anthropology in the sense of how we use fire and how we've used missiles, whether they're bows and arrows or whatever, in the ability as these tools of energy to be able to capture that, whether it's a hydraulic, water, or whatever
Energy
it may
tools.
be. Yeah, but we've always took these things as humans and then built them upon something greater. As he talks about with gold, you know, I mean, you could take all the gold in the world that's ever been mined and you could put it in 2 Olympic-sized swimming pools.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, so it's a scarcity commodity.
Yeah.
That's why it's so important. And we used to be based off of it. Now we just print money for free.
Yay. La la la, monopoly money.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
People don't realize it.
And then everyone's like, we need to benchmark ourselves against the USA. Don't benchmark yourselves against us.
No. And so then you create inflation, and
Yeah.
we know what inflation does. Inflation forces people to take shortcuts because if you're a winemaker and you've been selling this bottle of wine, he talks about this for $20.
Yeah.
And then inflation hits, so now you have to sell it for $40.
Yep.
Well, you have to make that choice. But what's going to happen is competition's going to cause you to want to keep it at 20.
Yeah.
But inflation's making you sell it. So are you going to lose profits and keep it at 20? No. So
No.
it creates a third option. And this is where the governments don't realize this with corporations. It creates an option to go with less, better materials, cheaper water, cheaper grapes.
Yeah.
And so now you make the label fancy because that's cheaper to make the label
But
fancy.
the quality of everything
but
else
the quality
drops off.
drops.
Precipitous drop off in quality.
That's why free market is so essential, and that's why these decentralized cryptocurrencies are so important.
That's why they're important. That's why we put a free market into Turtle too.
Mm-hmm.
What are we going to create? Inflation of the pricing of your data and just make it worth less and less and less over time? No. You know what's always worth money? You know what's always worth more than gold? Information.
Yes, information.
It will always be that way.
And that's what I'm gonna tee you up with the story, and then you can talk from there, because I think this is very, very important, and people do not realize this. So if you went to a bank and you went and got a mortgage, right? We've talked about that before, whatever.
Yep.
And so you quickly sign the papers because they have the sign here little tabs. They even have it purposely where you don't read.
Yeah.
And so you just sign here, sign here, sign here, sign here, sign here. And you do that in hopes there's kind of like a trust, like the bank has been around for a long time.
Yeah.
You know, and you're pretty much you're because you're not reading any of it. So you're pretty much trusting the bank to do the right thing when you sign for that mortgage.
Right.
So you go through, you sign the 100 forms that they have you sign.
I don't own the house.
They give you a
The bank
huge
owns the
stack.
house. Yeah.
They give you a huge stack. Then there you go.
They actually don't
So-
even give you anything.
So in 30 days, you're having fun. You've bought furniture. You've done those things. You get a knock on the door, and the bank's there at the door, and they're like, "Excuse me, we have some installers here." They're like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Well, the cameras are going in, the motion detectors are going in."
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Does this come with an alarm or something? No, this is for us to watch you.
That's awesome. Did you remember when you read the paper?
Yeah.
Remember that? Remember when they just slid that right in there that they want to protect their asset? It's
Yes.
not really
Yeah.
your house because you got a mortgage on it.
Yeah, exactly.
remember that?
So people are like, "Oh my God, this is horrific." You know, now the bank is watching me.
What's horrific?
Every move, everything that I do, the bank is noting, and putting it in a log.
Great.
How long would that bank last? How much of an outrage would people have over that? So let's say in 30 years, you finally pay the mortgage off. Let's say you dealt with the cameras, you dealt with everything. In 30 years, you paid the mortgage off. Wow. You have a piece of paper that says you own the house.
Right.
But the bank turns around and says, in that contract that you signed, it says in the contract, what you originally paid, net zero is fine. But any type of extra things that you did on the house when you went to Home Depot and you built the porch in the back and that created $5,000 more value. Mm-hmm. The house has gone up over these 30 years. It's worth double the value. Well, we get to keep all of that value.
Oh, we get to keep the appreciated value?
Yeah, we get to keep it all.
Yeah.
And that was in the contract that you signed.
That's great.
But you own the house, but
I don't own shit.
So this is where I'm getting to. I want people to understand that data is property.
Yes,
Just as much as that house is property, so is data.
You know what? Thank you very much. Because if you look at the house itself, they don't really care about the framing of the house. They don't really care about the physical asset. They care about what the perceived value is.
Yes.
Informatively against the market. They don't really care about the house. There's no care. It's all about what is being read. It's the information. Is this informative value increasing or decreasing over time? And they're worried about the logs of you being inside. How do you keep that house? Do you keep insurance on it? They don't really care what the insurance company is, who's the guy that framed the house, none of that.
But why are these big tech companies allowed to come in and basically put cameras in your house? Because you have a phone, so they're tracking every single thing you're doing.
Yeah.
You sign away those privacy agreements. So you sign your privacy away, which is your property. Your data is your property.
Right.
Period. That's been proven in court of laws. And we're going to get more of these. Supreme Court's going to have to decide on this eventually here in the United States.
They're going to have to come to Tartle and be like, hey, you're going to have to force your people to use Tartle.
Yeah, exactly. So because we don't have to force anything. It's a free marketplace.
No, you're exactly right. No, I'm just saying, like, you can't do anything. No, when I say your people, I'm talking about the business.
Yeah, the business. Yeah.
You have to buy your data through
corporations.
Yeah.
So why are we not in an uproar when we have corporations? Not only, you have these, and I'm not going to pick on any of them, but you even have these DNA companies. You're paying we've talked about this before, you're paying $99 to get this. They're turning around, taking your data, which is you just paid $99 to give them thousands of dollars
in value.
And then they're turning around and taking your property without your permission.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you kind of technically did when you signed the privacy agreement, didn't really look at it, and then turning around and selling it to third parties and making money off of you. What if a bank did that? What if somebody did that with your car?
They do it all the time.
What if they said, every time your car's not in use, we have a driver that's going to sit there that's going to Uber to make us money back.
Yeah, we're going to use your car while you're not using it.
Yeah, but when you can use it when you want to.
Yeah.
We would be in an uproar.
You don't value the asset. Well, we know what the value is. We'll do it.
You don't value the asset.
Yeah, that's the problem. You know what this reminds me of? You say, why aren't people in an uproar? Why wasn't the UK in an uproar when they put in CCTV everywhere?
Mm-hmm.
I can walk around London and there is a freaking camera in my face 24/7. No one was in uproar about that. It's just out there all the time. And it's this small select group that people would call anarchists that are like, these people are, they don't want the security. They don't want the control. Are you kidding me? Just because I was born in the country, not through my choice, I just happened to pop out, roll the dice, probability. Now I'm here that my rights are stripped and you guys get to just film me all day long.
Think about that.
I get born into the Big Brother show and I get no choice out of it. Where's the free will?
Born into the Big Brother show.
Is that no? That's what
that's
it
so
is.
true.
Tell me I'm wrong.
There's no, but that's just the problem. There's no free will when it comes to someone creating their data. And do you mind looking up property? I want the definition of property because this is a very important word.
Wait, property with what? The IRS?
Well, let's not get into that.
Yeah. I went over.
So we have to pay. Let me explain this. So we have to turn around. So they get to print money as much as they want. It costs them how much to print money?
Nothing.
How
come we can't?
We turn around and we work for that money
that they print
for nothing, and then we have to pay our taxes and what? The money that they printed.
Yeah, we have to pay.
They got for nothing.
Wait a minute. We have to pay our tax money. We have to pay our tax bill with after-tax money. That's effed up. That's messed up. Property, a quality or trait belonging and especially peculiar to an individual.
Is that not data?
Yeah, of course it is. It's a quality. Data is the quality and traits of me. How could that not be property? It's a ridiculous statement to say it's not. They're my thoughts. They're my behaviors.
So how are these corporations and governments allowed? How have they been allowed?
Dude, they don't give a shit about your free will. And everybody thinks just because the public is uneducated about something, I'm not calling them idiots. They just don't know. They're unaware of the evolution of how quickly things have grown, that they feel like they can do things in the gray until somebody wakes up and says, you can't do that anymore.
And so that's what they're hoping to be able to make profit.
How long can we make profit before something happens?
They're making profit off of this data. This is why Tardle's so important. They're making profit off of this data, and they're giving you nothing in return.
There's nothing in return. They're not giving the world anything in return.
Even on social media, which you may value that as your time, you go to Instagram, you're creating that data and making that. If no one posted pictures or put stories on
Instagram would have been defunct yesterday.
They're not, and this is very, very important. And when we look at morals, when we look at philosophy, value is everything.
Yep.
So whenever I'm giving you value and you're giving me value back, that creates a trust and respect.
It creates balance.
Yeah, it creates balance.
Equanimity.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? And so if I don't have that, then it's worth nothing. If everybody said, I don't want to be on Instagram tomorrow, do you know how much their profits would drop because they've no one to advertise to?
Oh, yeah.
People would be like,
they could literally, how long would they last with them? I mean, maybe 90 days?
Shut them off. Yeah. If everybody said, I'm going to take 90 days off,
yeah,
that's what would happen. That's what the profits would do.
That's why they've had to have these psychologists and these people that come in there
they want to addict you because their biggest risk is that you don't use it.
Yeah, it's the same as, this is the same protocol that they did a long time ago with cereals.
When's the last time Instagram?
With sugar and you know, they know that salt and sugar is addictive.
Yeah, so like, how do we make digital technology
They have people that are at these food corporations that are sitting there all day long. This is proven. You can go online. This is a conspiracy. And seeing how they can make the food more addictive. Would you not think that at social media, at Facebook or Snapchat or any of these organizations, that they would not hire people that would say, how can I keep people on the site? Time on site.
Dude, that's a great question. How when's the last time Instagram came out or Facebook and they said, yeah, we gotta do something about our oceans dying? They ever say something like that? Have they ever directly come out and say, oh, we gotta do something about human rights? No, of course not. They don't respect your human rights. You know, it's ridiculous. Yeah, but you feed these people value that offer you no respect in return. Would you go into a household and sleep there and live and eat there all day long and people don't even respect you? They don't care about you. You're just a dollar value in there. They're just collecting rent off
The worst part about it is you're giving them your property.
I know, it's your property. You're handing over your thoughts, emotions, behaviors, everything. So
here's my car, here's my house.
So they can look at all of it and then retune an addictive pattern right back to you. Come on.
They're using you.
Think about all the other companies that are collecting data on combine tractors and stuff like that. They're using farmers for their benefit. It doesn't benefit the farmer. It's only so John Deere can make an extra mint. You know?
And we've allowed this, and it's time for humanity to step up and say, we are not going to allow this anymore. It is our property. Yeah. Data is our property. Right now, it is the latest and the greatest in the fourth industrial revolution.
It will never go
All away. These companies and governments are looking at how can we get more data? How can we get more data? They're building AI machine learning. They're using this to take advantage of you.
They're using
as an
it for
individual.
Control.
And we're going to talk about this. And we're going to get into, and this word is very, very important. I encourage people to look this word up, and I don't want to get, we're going to fix and have another episode. Is sovereignty.
Yeah.
That is a huge word. That is extremely important with you as an individual and with your property.
Listen, if there's no sovereignty over it, then what do you got? You're a slave to the system. And dude, that's all it is.
Yeah.
You're a slave to somebody else's system. You're not even running in your own system anymore. This is not about your life. It's about helping some sort of business that is making money off of something that is just printed freely all day long.
But
it's a farce.
I want to close it out in this, though, and I want you to speak to this.
I don't want to close it out yet. I'm not done. I want to talk about a company. We're talking about like cameras and stuff like that.
You can't blame Facebook, Snapchat.
I don't blame them.
You can't blame them because it's evolution.
Yeah, I don't blame them.
It's unfair. It's unfair they have. I was reading the article the other day, and they were talking about Montana, how they're getting these super packs of wolves because wolves are just growing like crazy, so they're just running through elk, like just. So you take that one elk, and you have a super pack of wolves. The wolves are really smart. You're not going to have a frontal attack. No. If it's you and you're out in the wild and you're out by yourself and you don't have a gun and you don't have fire, you don't have anything, and it's just you and the super pack of wolves, it's the one that gets you from behind.
Always.
They're going to wait till you sleep
Yeah.
They're going to get you.
They're going to wait till you're at a weak point.
Super pack of wolves.
Guards
No one,
down.
whether it's an elk or whether it's you, that's nature.
We've had our guard
It's
down.
evolution.
We've had our guard down.
It's our responsibility to be smart.
Yeah.
To use these tools that we have, like Turtle, because a tool gives us power, just as fire did, just as water did.
Right.
We're resourceful as humans. That's what separated and made us distinct from animals.
That's precisely correct.
Is our ability to be able to be creative.
If you have a tool, okay, you can do genetic engineering for bad, or you can do genetic engineering for good. You can do data for bad, or you can do data for good. Okay? You can use biopharmaceuticals for bad, or you can use biopharmaceuticals for good. COVID. You know, these are the things that
Right.
you can do. The question is, what do you want to do with the technology? Technology is essentially agnostic. It's the human that's using it. It's the human that's designing the algorithm. We're the one that's profiling people. We're the one creating chemical warfare. Okay? We're the one polluting the ocean with our technology because we have chosen to take that avenue with it. Take a new avenue with this stuff. You ever heard of the company Maxar Technologies?
I've heard of them. I don't know that much about them.
So I was all like bummed out on, I was on Google Earth. I'm like, this sucks. I'm like, why am I like 50 feet up in the air? I can't get any closer. Like, I'm trying to look at stuff. I'm like trying to plan some like climbing routes and stuff like that. I said, is there a better mapping system? So I go through, I'm like, that's still garbage. And I start looking at all the competitors and I realize everyone's kind of like stuck at the same elevation above the earth for looking at stuff. I'm like, this is lame.
Well,
I was like,
there's others.
no, I know. So
They're
then I
not
start
gonna be-
looking around, right? And I'm like, oh, Boeing has something. You know, oh, this company has something. And I'm like, was Boeing launching up satellites? No, they're not. They're all actually licensing these satellites from someone else called Maxar Technologies out of Colorado. Dude, if you're worried about CCTV cameras in London, right? Forget about it. You don't even need them. They have a plethora of satellites up there, Earth observation radar and on-orbit servicing satellites. I can go to Maxar and say, I want to rent this satellite anywhere in the world at any time, and I want to observe this with whatever patterns all day long. They can tell you changes in plant growth, tracking the movement of human beings. They can read license plates on cars. They can watch international airlines move, track all of them through the satellites, construction, wartime efforts. You know, dude, it would blow your mind what you can see. And I'm like, what is going on here? But the only people that have access to that data is a very, very select few. NASA doesn't even rent these satellites from these guys.
Because it's centralized.
Because it's 100% centralized. The reason it's so expensive, it's purposely cost prohibitive.
So why are we? Because that's just data. It's just video data from the
but what
satellite.
is it though? It's you're not allowed to have any more information.
Why does
They've
our data
capped me.
have to be centralized?
They've capped me at 150 feet or whatever it is.
Right.
Why can't I see the license plate? I'm capped on that info. The real juice of satellite imagery is when I'm down to the ground about 3 feet away. And I'm not allowed to have that. I'm not allowed this huge chunk of information all across the globe. You give me this top-up bird's eye view, but I can't go any further. That's only for a select amount of people to have the biggest resource in the world, and that's that information.
Well, then you get into competition because now you've got Russia has that, China, the superpowers have these.
But I'm saying you got to eradicate that.
Yes.
Give that to people.
Right.
Imagine the analysis.
It makes a level playing field then.
Think about the guys on Google Earth, those conspiracy guys that are like, oh, look at this base I found. Good for you. You're using crap satellite imagery and you still did good research.
Yeah, right.
Imagine if you give the world access to all of these things where they're like, look what we can find out for ourselves. And it just eradicates all this nonsense.
Well, when we talked to, the great professor at
Avi
Harvard,
Loeb.
and he talked about how much data that telescope, and it's going to be decentralized.
Yeah.
So we're going to find amazing discoveries from that.
You want to know why? Because everybody gets access to looking at the telescope data.
Yes.
But what's ridiculous? Why is it that we're allowed to look up at the stars, but no one allows us to look at our own Earth? What's with that? Talk about how unbalanced that is. They live in this 150-foot gray area, looking at whatever they want, tracking everything all day long.
I think it boils down to, and we've talked about this before, whenever you centralize things and you have a group of people that are controlling it, I don't think necessarily the they're evil and, all these conspiracies with QAnon and all that
No, I
stuff.
don't
These
care
people,
the
they're eating
evil
babies
thing,
and all
yeah.
that stuff, whatever.
Evil's a stupid word.
Yeah, evil is a stupid word anyways, exactly.
Yeah.
There's this slippery slope that begins to happen where you begin to say, I've made it up the food chain.
Mm-hmm.
I'm at this level. And if we want to use the word evil, which is a bad word, I think and I'm paraphrasing here, but I think all of that is when you feel like you have enough knowledge.
Yeah.
And then you begin to look at yourself
Above human beings.
Above human beings. And and that's why we have these centralized systems. We have groups of people that look at themselves as having the knowledge.
Yep.
And had the ability to be able to, maybe through hard work or whatever it may be, maybe being born into the right family, going through higher educational systems, and they've climbed their way. They fought and clawed and climbed their way to that top percent. And they make the decision that says, hey, we have the answers. We know what is right.
Do you?
Well,
did the central bank ever ask me if it was okay to print money? Did they ever come to the public and say, guys, is it okay if we make our money worth less? People would have said, well, why are you doing that? Oh, because we're over leveraged in our financial system. People would be like, that's your fault.
Well, people don't even realize, let's take a quick break on that. People don't even realize countries used to base their money off of gold, which was perfect because gold, you had so much and you could only print the money based off of that. Because the price of gold is really cool because it only goes off of, the mining cost is pretty close to what the gold cost is.
Essentially a fixed supply here.
So if it's $2,000 an ounce, it's going to cost me about $1,800 to mine it.
Right.
If it goes to 4,000 an ounce, then that means the labor, it's going to cost me that much more. Mm-hmm. That's why the price of gold rises. So it's Bitcoin is better, but it's a true because of the technology that we have. But gold is a true system that can be based off of.
Yeah.
So whenever you look at just printing money, what is that printing money based off of? It's not based off of anything. It's based off of...
It's based off of a Xerox printer, dude.
It's based off of them deciding where inflation's going to... If we print too much, because you can go to Venezuela right now, and there's money everywhere.
Dude, I can literally hold buckets of money like that.
Yeah, in Venezuela, you can hold buckets of money.
What can I buy?
It's not worth
Maybe
anything.
a coffee.
When I went to Somalia, they would ask for $1. The little kids, the orphan kids, they'd all come around you.
Yeah.
And I would give them $1, and they would give me stacks of their Somalian money. I think I have some laying around. I'm literally, it looked cool, like you had these big stacks.
Should we stack it up here so we look like drug dealers?
Yeah, but it literally was worth nothing.
Yeah.
The $1 was worth everything. And we can have that happen here, whether it be in the United States or any country.
It's a Federal Reserve note.
Yes.
Someone's handing you debt. That's all it is. All these investments that are going around, people doing stuff, VCs, it's like, I have a bunch of debt. Can I give you this debt to own your company? Wait a minute. Help me understand something. You're going to give me something you don't own that essentially has no value to it so you can buy something that I've built that I actually own. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. And I would love for someone that, an economist that understands this system.
If there was one.
Or somebody that is for the free market, is for decentralization, would love to have them on the podcast. I think would be awesome. And we're going to reach out to some. But
who's that anarchist?
Yeah, just about. But there is, I just purchased a book and I'll be reading about it. Actually, the perfect free market is the Australian, not Australian,
no,
but Austrian,
Austrian.
The Austrian
Yeah.
economics.
Austrian economic principles are fantastic.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Friedman.
Yes, yeah.
Alfred F. Hayek.
I think there's Milton.
Milton Friedman.
Yeah.
And then you have Hayek. You ever heard of that guy?
No, I haven't heard of him.
I don't know. I got tons of books on it, but what are we getting at here?
Yeah, we're bouncing.
Data's valuable.
It's your property.
Okay. It's more valuable than money. Okay. Information will always be more valuable than money. So recognize your free will, recognize your sovereignty over it, put your foot down, say, this is mine, and sign up at turtle.co.